Good day, everyone. Today, we're gonna learn about the introduction to Java programming. Java is one of the most widely used and influential programming languages in the world, and understanding its fundamentals is key to our programming journey. My name is John Mark Kabingatan, and I'll be your guide through this lesson. So, let's start. We will start with the learning outcomes. So by the end of this module, we have three key learning outcomes that we should be able to describe and discuss the Java story, its technology features, and requirements. We will look at where Java came from and what makes it so powerful. The second one is the differentiate between an applet and an application. This is the basic significance in Java telling us how where the program is designed to run. So, let's get started with the history of Java. What is Java? Java was originally conceived and created way back in 1991 by a team from Sun Microsystems, specifically James Gosling, Mike Sheridan, and Patrick Norton. The language didn't start as Java, though initially it was called GreenTalk, and the files had a GT extension. It was then renamed Oak and was developed as part of the Green Project. However, the name had to be changed again to Java because there was already a programming language called Oak. This little bit of trivia tells you that great things often starts with different names. We will move on to why is Java. So, why did they settle on Java? According to one of its creators, James Gosling, Java was one of the top name choices right alongside Silk. The team members preferred the name Java because it was unique. The name is inspired by a real place. Java is an island in Indonesia where a famous type of coffee is produced. Is actually called Java coffee. This language made a big impact immediately. In fact, Time magazine named Java one of the 10 best products of 1995. We also see the first official release, JDK 1.0, came out shortly after on January 23, 1996. This marks the beginning of its dominance. Java version history. The Java version history gives us a quick look at the evolution of Java. Like any major software, it's gone through many iterations and major updates. We can see at the start with the JDK Alpha or Beta releases in 1995, followed by the first official release, JDK 1.0 in 1996. Notice how the naming convention changed over time. It then moved from JDK Java Development Kit to J2SE, Java 2 Platform Standard Edition, for versions 1.2 through 1.4. It then simplified to J2SE 5.0 and finally the Java SE, which is the Standard Edition. Starting with the Java SE6, we can see the evolution of Java continuing well into the last decade, with major versions like Java SE8 in 2014 and subsequent annual updates like Java SE10 in 2018. This continuous development shows Java commitment to staying modern and relevant. The first projects. So, what was the first thing they built with this new language? The first project developed using Java was a device named Star 7. It was a proof of concept device, a personal handheld remote control. This device was developed as part of the original Green project, showing that Java was initially intended for small consumer electronics before it became the massive enterprise platform it is. What is Java technology? Now, let's define what we mean by Java technology. It's more than just the code we write. The Java technology is actually a FAR system. The first one is the programming language. This is the syntax and grammar we use to write instruction. The second one is a development environment. This is the tool set we use to build this software, like the JDK that we will discuss later. The third one is an application environment. This is the platform where the code actually runs, like the Java Virtual Machines or JVM. The fourth one or the last one is a development environment. This manages how the compiled program gets distributed and executed on different machines. Here are the 12 core features of Java. These features are why Java became so successful. Let's start with the number one, the object-oriented. Java is a true object-oriented language. This approach to programming is based on organizing your software around data or object rather than the functions and logic. The basic concepts of object-oriented programming (OOP) that you need to know are object, class, inheritance, polymorphism, abstraction, and encapsulation. The second one is as simple. Java was designed to be easy to learn if you're familiar with C++, but without the complex features like explicit memory management, which makes the coding simpler and less error-prone. The third one is secured. Java security features help enable the creation of virus-free, tamper-free system. The fourth one is the platform independent. This is one of the Java's superpowers. Our Java code can run on any machine, whether it's running on Windows, Mac, or Linux, as long as it has the Java Runtime Environment, the JRE, installed. The platform here refers to both the software like the operating system and the hardware like the processor. The fifth one is robust. Java is designed to be reliable. It performs automatic memory management, called the garbage collection, and has strong exception handling, making program less likely to crash. The sixth one is portable. Because it's platform independent, Java code can be easily carried to any system without needing major modifications. The seventh one is architecture neutral. The Java compiler creates something called bytecode, which is not tied to any specific processor architecture, reinforcing its cross-platform capability. The eighth one is dynamic. Java programs can adapt and evolve. They can load class files at runtime, which means they can incorporate native methods and libraries. The ninth one is interpreted. Java combines compilation and interpretation. It compiles into bytecode, which is then interpreted by the Java Virtual Machine, or JVM, enabling the platform independence we just talked about. The 10th one is high performance. While interpreted languages are generally slower, Java's JIT, just-in-time, compiler helps compile the bytecode into native machines code at runtime, which significantly speed things up. The 11th one is multi-threaded. This means Java can handle multiple tasks simultaneously within a single program. Think of a word processor that can type text, check spelling, and autosave all at once. This is essential for modern, high-performance application. The 12th one or the last one is Java. The 12th one or the last one is distributed. Java is designed for the internet. It has a rich set of libraries for creating network applications, allowing programs to run across different computers on a network. If you want to write and run Java programs, you need the Java Development Kit, or the JDK. This is the toolkit for developers. When you install the JDK, it comes with a directory structure containing all the necessary files to build your program. For example, A crucial folder is a bin folder. The bin folder contains executable files like java.exe, which is the Java compiler we use to turn our source code into bytecode. This is the essential environment for all our work. This diagram visually represents the directory structure you'd find inside a JDK installation. The first one is the bin, contains the executable like the compiler. The second one is a demo, holds sample programs to learn from. The third one is docs, contains the documentation and APIs. The fourth one is include, contains header files for native method development. The fifth one is JRE. This is the Java runtime environment, what users need to run Java programs. The sixth one is live, contains the core of Java libraries, JAR files. This organization ensures all the necessary components for compiling and running Java are in one place. Let's look at the Java program cycle. It's a three-step process. The first one is the creation. You start with the source code. You can use any editor to write your code, and the file is saved with the Java extension. The second one is the compilation. The source code is then passed through the compiler, which is part of the JDK. The compiler checks for errors and translates your human-readable code into bytecode, which is saved as a class file. This bytecode is the language of JVM. The third one is the execution. Finally, the bytecode is given to the interpreter, which is the part of the JRE, which executes the instructions line by line on the specific machine, producing the output. This is the process that gives Java its write once, run everywhere capability. Here, we will see an example presentation of process using a classic Hello World example. We start with a source code file, say Hello Java, where we've written our instructions like system.out.println hello QCU. The compiler shown by the small tool converts this source code into bytecode, the yellow box below. This bytecode is then loaded and executed by the JVM, the central hub. The JVM interprets the bytecode and produces the final output on the computer screen, which in this case is Hello QCU. This diagram clearly links the code, the tools, and the final results. Java is a two-way, and the programs we write generally falls into two categories. The first one is an applet. An applet is a kind of program designed to run within the context of web browser. Think of them as small, embedded programs that gave early web pages interactive elements like animations or small games. While applets are less common today, they were in Java's early success on the internet. The second one is an application. An application is a standalone program. This is a regular piece of software like a calculator, a word processor, or a banking system that does not need a browser to run. Most of the programming you do today will be creating these standalone Java applications which run directly on the operating system via .jre. Now, we get into the actual code structure, or we can call Java program structure. A program is always made up of one or more classes. Everything in Java lives inside a class. A class contains one or more methods, which are essentially functions or actions. A method contains the program statements, the actual lines of code that perform tasks. Crucially, every Java application must contain a special method like called main. This is the starting point of execution for the JVM. The main method, it's the front door to your program. When the JVM executes a Java application, it looks for and calls the main method of the specified class to begin running the code. Because of its role, the main method must always be declared with the specific modifiers like public, static, and void. A source file, the .java file, can contain one or more classes, but the key rule is that the only one classes in that file can be declared public, and its name must match the file name. Organizing your Java application. Keeping your project organized is essential. A Java application is made up of a set of files organized in a directory structure. We deal with two primary file types. The first one is the source code file, saved as filename.java. The second one is the compiled class file, saved as classname.class. Remember, the class name often matches the file name. The compiler looks for other class files when you reference a class, and the interpreter searches for the class files during runtime. Both rely on the class path variable, which is a list of directories the system searches for these necessary class files. A sample source code in Java. Here is a classic Hello World program, and it beautifully illustrates all the structure concept we just learned. The file is saved as Hello World Java. It contains the public class Hello World. This class name matches the file name and holds all our program code. Inside the class is the all-important public static void main, which is the string args method. This is where the execution begins. The single line of code, systemout.print, hello world is the actual program statement inside the method body. This statement prints the message to the console. This simple structure, class, method, statement is the foundation of Java application. So, here are the tips of the names. In Java, we use packages to organize our classes, similar to how folder organize files on your computer. On the code side, you declare a package with package course. This means the student class belongs inside a directory named course. The class qualified name is then course student. If you want to use this student class in another file, you have a couple of options. The first one is the use fully qualified name, course.student or student1 equals to new, course student. The number two is more commonly you import the class, import course student. You can also import all classes in a package using the wildcard. Import course. So, why do we use packages? Because they make it easier to find and use classes. They avoid naming conflicts. You can have a student class in the course packages and another student class in the people package, which is the course student and the people student, without any clash. They allow for access control. Packages define visibility rules, controlling which classes can see and use members of other classes. Let's move on to the first Java program. Let's bring it all together with a simple program on. We have a class called simple, maintaining our main method which prints hello Java. The compilation flow on this slide show what happens next. So we can start with the Java code, our simple Java file. The compiler translates it into bytecode, the simple class file. Once we have that class file, it's ready to run on any Java-compatible machine. This flow demonstrates the fundamental translation step required for Java's platform independence. And that concludes our introduction to Java programming. I want to say thank you for your attention and thank you for watching this video. I hope you now have a solid understanding of Java story, its powerful features, and the essential development process. So, see you next time!